Hello, everyone. Good evening and welcome to AISK's sixth form open house. I just would like to give folks a couple more minutes. I see that everybody is just getting signed on now. I just want to give everyone a couple more minutes. And when I say couple, I do mean 2 minutes to sign on, and then we're gonna get started. Thank you all for being here.
Great to be here.
Hello again. Welcome to AISK's sixth form open house. My name is Nicole McLaren Campbell. I am the founder of AIM Educational Services, now the AIM Online Academy, and importantly have been the college counseling coordinator for AISK for the past 6 years. I'm also going to be your host this evening, and I'm really excited about helping you to learn more about your options at AISK, where we offer some unique programs that fit the needs of a wide range of students. Students who are driven, who have found their academic passions, students who haven't quite their passions and interests and might need more support in the way of exploration, developing good study habits, and just having their eyes open to what they could be interested in and what's out there. We have been able to work successfully with students who are very focused and driven and mature around academic work, as well as students who just need the right type of support and environment in order to thrive. So today we're going to have a conversation about options for high school, specifically the last 2 years of high school. So we do welcome and can talk about the entire high school year experience at AISK. We'll talk about what kind of qualifications are needed globally in terms of university admissions and how to choose the best fit program to really get preparation for university. And so today sharing will be Chris Walker. He is our high school principal. We're going to have Nia and Jonathan. Jonathan is a past AISK student, a proud alum, while Nia is, I was about to say Nia is a senior, but since graduation last week, she is now also an alum, a graduate of AISK. And really, it's our students who can really give such a accurate and real sense of what happens at AISK and how it's worked for them. And I think that is gonna really also help you to consider whether AISK could be a fit for you as well. As I said, I've been really proud to be a part of the AISK family, and what stands out for me is just how AISK helps different types of students to succeed, and I think that's really, really important. So without further ado, I would like to, I mentioned Mr. Walker, who is our high school principal, but I'd like to bring him on stage virtually so that I can talk a bit about the academic programs, the 3 sure paths to university at AISK and what those look like.
Thank you, Nicole, and welcome everyone. Hello, fellow panelists, and welcome attendees. Great to have you here this evening, and hopefully you'll get some information from this, and obviously we're here to try and answer any questions. So thank you for that introduction, Nicole. So yeah, my name's Chris Walker. I'm the middle school, high school principal at AISK. It's my 2nd year working at the school, but prior to that I've worked in international schools around the globe. And one of the things that came in common with those schools is the IB program that I've worked with. But before, I think one thing that we need to try and, I guess, put to bed is a little bit of a myth, is that when we think about the IB, and I don't know how much people know, but a lot of time people think that this is something that happens in international schools, and it's only for international schools. And whilst it's true that the IB began back in 1967 from a group of international schools in Europe, 50 years later, it's evolved into a very different thing. And really the IB is about an approach to education. It's a philosophy to education, which has international mindedness. I don't think most people realize that the country with the biggest number of IB schools is actually the US. They have over 2,000 IB schools out of the 5,500 IB schools that are worldwide. And the majority of those 2,000 are not international schools. They're just regular schools who've decided to take the IB approach, that philosophy to education, and implement it. And for us at AISK, that's really what it's about. It's that program and that approach. And as a school and with the IB, we're able, as Ms. Campbell says, to offer 3 different pathways. And you'll hear a lot this evening about best fit. And it's about looking at where you are as a student, where you are in your own development, and getting then on the best fit or the pathway for you to go forward to wherever it is in terms of your university or college or wherever you want to go to next. And so for us, we're able to offer 3 different pathways, and they suit different needs and different people. They're all equally challenging in terms of for the person themselves, and they all provide different different challenges and different circumstances or different different challenges. So we have one of them is the high school diploma, and as a student you will come in. We are at AISK an accredited US high school, and so students who come in and take courses with us, they can be IB courses, they can be non-IB courses, and through taking those courses, they're able to obtain a US high school diploma, which you can use to then go on to universities. In America, you can also use it to go to the UK and get onto foundation courses, and in Europe. So it can open doors, and it's recognized around the world. And as Ms. Campbell will say, she'll explain a little bit more about the options the options which are available when you take a high school diploma. We then have the IB classes, and the majority, in fact, 100% of our students tend to take at least one IB class. And with the IB, you have an IB courses and then what's called the IB full diploma. Nia, for example, did the IB full diploma. Now, when you do the full diploma, part of the IB philosophy is about having it's a holistic approach to education. It wants to be broad. It's deliberately, or originally it was deliberately designed that way, so that you are going to take a language, if you're taking the full diploma, you have to take a second language where you've got a language acquisition. You have to take a science, you have to take a maths, and then you can then try and tailor it. If you're a bit more of a science person, you can take an extra science. If you're a bit more of a language person, you could take an extra language. Or if you're into the arts and visual arts and drama, there's also an option there. But it does make you take 6 courses which are broad, and deliberately it's this holistic education. And when you take the full diploma, you take those 6 courses, and then just for good measure, to keep Nia and everyone else really busy, they throw in what are called some core elements, which is a 4,000-word extended essay, almost a philosophy course, and a big component of the IB, and as a school. So it's not, IB is service and commitment there. And that's the full diploma. And again, Ms. Campbell will explain the doors and opportunities that opens at university, and that's a pathway. And it's very challenging, don't get me wrong, and there's a lot of time management, and it needs a lot of self-motivation there. But there's also a second pathway, and I think it's probably more similar to, certainly when I was in the UK, I did A-levels. In the US, they have advanced placement. I know here you have I think it's the CAPE, where you actually say, you know what, I'm a science person. I'm just going to take 3 or 4 science courses. I'm not going to take a language or an English. I'm just going to take those science courses because I know exactly what I want to do, where I want to go to university, and these are the courses. And I know I want to specialize in these areas. And so students then, if they know that, they can then take IB courses. And there's a range of different courses they can take. And then they can plot their pathway that way. And again, that will lead to universities, and Ms. Campbell will be able to explain a little bit about the opportunities. So you have 3 different pathways. They suit different people depending on where they are at the time in their own learning, their own development, and all of them are challenging for the student at the time, and all of them open doors in some way for where they want to go. So I think, does that hit or cover what you're asking, Ms. Campbell?
Absolutely, absolutely does, Chris. Thank you so much. One thing that I would also love to just point out or highlight is that, you know, we start off with the conversation around academics, because that is the first thing that universities globally will look at evaluating a student. And so that's the necessary starting point of the conversation. And one thing that colleges really look for, which sometimes students in our local Jamaican Caribbean system sometimes have an issue with, is the range of courses that they've selected. Colleges use expect what they call a college prep curriculum, and it's the core 5 subjects. So when they're looking at an applicant, they want to see that you've done subjects covering a certain number of areas. And because students in the local system, they select subjects at 3rd form, as you know, they're selecting subjects at 3rd form. Sometimes they will, you know, go through high school up to 5th form having never done a science, having never done a social science, having never done a foreign language. And those things present obstacles when it comes to applying to college. So what, you know, the 3 paths at AISK do, what it does is offer students the opportunity to fix those deficits in their profiles, if it is that perhaps they didn't select across the core 5 subjects. So, you know, the high school diploma path will allow you to cover a range of areas, science, math, social science, foreign language, and natural science as well. So it's a great base that students can really come in and take advantage of. But, you know, we have Jonathan and Nia, and I really want to hear from them. We've, you know, talked about the 3 different paths to university at AISK, being the US High School Diploma, the IB Diploma, or the IB courses with the US Diploma. So I want to hear from Nia and Jonathan as to, you know, what did they choose? Why did they choose the way that they chose? And how do they feel? How do you guys feel it prepared you for university? Well, Nia, you're not quite in university yet, but you can give us, you know, a sense of how you think it's prepared you for your next step.
I guess I will start. So my name is Jonathan again, just to quickly recap. Product of AISK, obviously, and now I've graduated Senior Hall with my bachelor's in chemistry with plans to pursue my master's in the same subject. In regards to AISK as a holistic institution, I really, well, I'm a little far removed because it's been 4 years, but the memories that I have of AISK are very warm and very reminiscent of a hard but good time in the system. I elected to do the IB diploma, or I believe the IB diploma with the US diploma, the higher of the 3 pathways, or not the higher, the harder of the 3 pathways rather. And why I chose that one, to be honest, I thought that I was capable of doing it, which I proved to myself and my parents and everyone who believed in me at AISK that I was capable of doing it. And also, I felt like it was the right program for me. I knew that I wanted to study abroad, and I wanted my best chance of competing with kids from the US, kids from Jamaica, or any other island or country for that matter. So I chose the IB route. However, that's not to say that the IB route is the route for success. As a matter of fact, the friends that I had in my year, above me, below me, I can, without saying their names, I know 2 people, guy and a girl, who did the high school diploma. One ended up at Lynn for economics, and the other ended up at SCAD for interior design as a major. And they've both graduated with me, thank God. But AISK as a whole, I will say that IB is challenging. It is hard, it is hard, it is hard. More about me, I came from Campion, first form. So I was in the traditional Jamaican high school at first, and I know what the 13 subjects is like, and the huge classrooms, and the teachers writing across 3-4 chalkboards, erasing as you go, so you have to keep up with notes. And then I came to AISK, and to be quite honest, I found it a bit easy. And I know Nicola and I had a discussion not too long ago about whether I was coasting at AISK or not, but I wasn't pulling all A's, but I was getting the grades necessary to, you know, fly under the radar. But the last 2 years at AISK really whipped me into shape, so to speak, and really cemented the student that I would become, the person that I would become when it came to academics, when it came to professionalism. This was because not only was the coursework significantly more difficult because of the pathway that I chose, but it also required me as a person to grow in the areas of responsibility, and responsibility in the sense that, oh, not just doing my homework on time and participating in class, but rather me taking charge of my education and me making the decisions that are necessary to further myself as a student to get me to where I wanted to be, you know. And obviously I couldn't have done that by myself as a 16, 15-year-old, 17, however young. So definitely the teachers, the parents, not even my own parents, but the parents of the friends that were all in it together, the atmosphere, the community that really supported and pushed all of us as students to be the best that we can be. And I can say hands down, my most influential professors, teachers, college advisors, whether they were on my back or or they were, you know, supporting me in a more passive ways. they definitely are in my book as some of the greatest professors, even in comparison to my college professors that I've made good relationships with. So I would say my time at AISK was an overall net positive for me, my character development, my academic development. And yeah, that's all I have to say about that for now.
Oh my goodness. Jonathan, thank you so much. I'm beaming right now because I remember some of our more, what should I say, tense moments, certainly from a college advising perspective. But, I just love to see how you have, taken the education and the lessons you've learned and really are thriving, and even onto your master's program right now is what you told us you're doing your master's now, about to go into a master's program.
Right. So I'm going into my master's program for the fall.
Yes. Right. Congrats to you on that. And I think that is so important what you highlighted. And I want to just emphasize that for a quick minute, because what I think makes AISK really special is it's the people, really. I mean, the facility is first rate, and the laptop 1-to-1, and basically a Apple Genius bar on campus. And the facility and the support is unparalleled, but the teachers and their exposure internationally and experience really equip them to not only, teach the IB program and teaching this international type of way, but really prepare students for the world and prepare students for success in their next steps. And I think as parents, that's what we want for our children. We want them to be able to step out onto their own and find their space in the world and thrive. And so I'm excited that you highlighted the faculty, because that for me is the highlight. So I'm happy that some of your best memories, even though they might have been tense at times, come from your teachers. Thank you for sharing. Neil, how about you? Tell us about your AISK experience and how you think it's prepared you for your next step, and maybe also a bit about how college counseling works at AISK, since you would remember intimately, versus Jonathan. They say when memories fade, everything looks good in hindsight. But Neil can give us a more updated, fresh perspective as a recent graduate. Here.
Yeah, so you mentioned how kind of AISK prepares students to interact with life. And I think that's really important, the idea of pathways, and not just preparing students to learn in school, but preparing them to interact with the larger world and allowing people to kind of choose on their own terms. So I personally decided to do the full IB diploma with the high school diploma. But like Jonathan was saying, people did high school, they did courses, and it was all aligned, not out of a sense of, oh, this isn't as rigorous, but it's aligned with what you want and your own personal values and your own personal choices. People who are maybe a lot more athletic than I am and spend a lot of time doing sports decided to do courses and just take particular art classes or particular other classes that would allow them to follow what they wanted to do in the future. Whereas I was personally really connected to the academic parts of the IB program that allowed you to explore the philosophies and writing these essays and explore your own personal questions. So I was very passionate about exploring that. And I had teachers who would sit with me and allow me to explore those thoughts and those passions, and would also sit with the other students and explore their artwork and their passions. So it was very kind of no matter what you wanted to do, the faculty and the overall culture at AISK would be there to help support you. So it's not just oh, this is AISK doesn't breed just one type of student, but it's there to help you grow into the type of person that you want to be, and also help find that. And with even just seeing where I am now compared to where I was before I came to AISK. So I started AISK with the IB diploma. I came from a high school in the United States, and just seeing where I am as a learner, I think that I was very unconfident with myself as a learner. I knew that I had these questions, but I didn't know what I was capable of, what my capacities were. But when you have teachers who are there to help you understand yourself and understand yourself as a learner, who will be there after school with you. I just remember a specific moment I had with one of my history teachers where everyone else was taking notes, and she goes, "Oh, Mia, I noticed that you're like a very visual learner. If you want, you can go on the board and you can write out the notes. And I felt so appreciated and so understood, because I was like, yeah, that is like, I am more of a visual learner, and going up and being able to write this out is super helpful to me. And that's just like another step. So now that I know that, in university, in class, knowing that writing notes is going to be a way for me to study and a way for me to better learn information. So it's just the small ways of understanding yourself and how you interact with other people that I know that in university, I kind of have a more solid ground to stand upon, and like a basis to go and like succeed in the future. And in university, in the first place, the college counseling was a huge help. I had always been interested in like looking around at colleges, but it wasn't until, I spoke to you, Nicole, that I was able to see kind of like a trend in what I really wanted and what would really help me succeed in as a student. And also just like, I think especially the essay writing process. I mean, writing like an essay seems like it'll be like a small thing because it's so few amount of words, but when you're having to like summarize your entire personality and your achievements, but also your growth in like a single essay, it's a lot of work. So starting that really early on, beginning to think about my essay and what I was meant to write about it from like, like 11th grade, like the middle of 11th grade, was really helpful, because I probably rewrote that essay multiple times. And to have somebody who I could email even last minute, like I remember emailing TJ really last minute, like, hey, I just rewrote another draft. Can you look over this really quickly before I was meant to submit an application? And it's that always like constant help and support, that like wherever you are in the process, that someone will be there to help you achieve what you can. That was really comforting. Yeah. So I think overall, it's like, and with any school you want to as well, it's not like it was just these big schools, but AISK helped me find a school that was the right fit for me, which was like a small school that I realized I wanted. And I remember one time I put like UCLA on my college list, and Nicole was like, why is this school on your list? You want a small school? It's not going to be right for you. So to have people who kind of know what works for you and to be able to help you find what you want, I think was really important in the college application process.
Thanks, Neil, for sharing that. And it is really important, not just, we're talking a lot about fit, right? Like what Chris said. And so at AISK, we believe in fit as a community, but then from a college counseling perspective, we also really believe in helping you to take that next step to somewhere that is your best fit. And that is something that we pay a lot of attention to. And as Neil mentioned, it is a process that starts full steam in grade 11. We do college counseling work in grades 9 and 10, more on a group basis. There is individual advising in grade 10 in terms of choosing the pathway for grades 11 and 12 for our students, but we hit full stride in grade 11, and AISK is one of really the few schools around the world that integrates college counseling as part of our curriculum, because we know how important it is, but we also know that it can be a really tense, anxious, and stressful time. It's not managed and handled in the right way, which is why we really get going with the college counseling class during class time, as I said, built into the curriculum in grade 11, where we're having conversations around the different types of schools. How do you find the fit? In the US alone, there are over 3,500 colleges. So for Neil, it would be, and Jonathan would be like, okay, where do I fit in this 3,500, strong environment? And that can be a daunting prospect as well. So we meet weekly during the spring and really go through, as I said, everything from finding the right college fit to how do you write that essay, to having students produce drafts of that essay in grade 11, so that they're not, rushing through the process and like having meltdowns over deadlines in senior fall, which is grade 12. Which is where you really are up against deadlines. And so we have an entire team devoted to students. So Neil mentioned meeting with me, but then emailing our essay to TJ. So I'm the college counseling coordinator. We have college counseling strategist, who is Stephanie. And then the TJ is our Miss Chung, as we're supposed to call her, but it's okay. TJ is our essay worker. And so we call her the essay worker because she deals with all things essays, and she really help students to find their unique voice and to, you know, prepare an essay that is compelling, fits in the word limit, but also, you know, really does tell a student or tell a college who this student is and whether they would be a fit in the community. So that's a bit about our college counseling program. I also wanted to just, and Nia also and Jonathan alluded to this as well, but I just wanted to make it explicit that the 3 different pathways at AISK all lead to university, but what a student chooses depends on what their interests are, what else they have going on. We have a lot of students who have very strong non-academic interests. So that could be athletic. We have students who are really, really into music and spend a lot of time in pursuit of it. Students who are heavily into the arts. We've had students go on to do acting, design, engineering, doctors. Two race car drivers, thank you. I mean, 2 race car drivers. So they're all different types of students, and we just don't believe, you know, in the one size fits approach. So for a student whose, you know, real burning passion is music, perhaps they would do the US High School Diploma with, you know, IB level music, for example, and they're applying primarily to music focused schools who might not put as great an emphasis on having this full IB diploma. The schools that would expect and want the full IB diploma would tend to be those schools that are more academically focused and or extremely competitive, or just in their admissions culture, they just want to see that a student is doing the hardest program that's available to them. There are just universities like that. Later on in the webinar, pretty soon, a student who is coming in who did the US High School Diploma, did extremely well, scored a great high essay score, and is in a business program at one of the best business programs in the United States, highly competitive school. So there is this pathway to success no matter which program you choose at AISK, just that different programs are a fit for different types of universities as well as different types of students, depending on what else they might have going on. So again, there's a full IB diploma program, there's IB courses with the US High School Diploma, and then there's the US High School Diploma, which is straight high school level classes, none at the sort of advanced level. And advanced level is IB level. Okay, so I just want to make sure that I've made that clear. From a college admissions perspective, again, all 3 paths lead to university. It just depends on which path the student is headed down. And that's a conversation that we have. We have both I mentioned the college counseling class, but we also have one-on-one advising, and students continue with the counselor that they've been working with throughout. And as I said, an essay whisperer to come onto the team as well to make sure that the essays are done seamlessly.
It's important to know
Chris,
that,
will you talk?
but all three paths earn the US diploma.
All 3 paths earn the US diploma. Thank you for pointing that out, Nicola. The US, you come to AISK, you are graduating with a US High School Diploma, no matter, it's just a matter of whether you're going to also do the IB diploma or IB courses or just straight high school diploma. So everybody's awarded US High School Diploma at the end of AISK, at the end of their high school career. But on the IB program, Chris, I'm wondering if you...
I say you don't just get the high school diploma automatically. You do have to work and pass all your courses.
I know, I caught myself. I'm like, no, you don't get it automatically at all. I'm so sorry about that. You do have to work to get the diploma, but it is awarded at the successful completion of your high school career at AISK. Chris, could you talk to us a little bit about the IB pass rate? Because from a college admissions perspective, you know, that full IB diploma gives you a lot of scholarship opportunities. There are many schools that just auto award IB scholarships. So it's a great investment. It also carries college credit. We've had students who have been able to, you know, shave time off of their college time by having, you know, certain IB level courses, with 6s or 7s, and they're able to even get college credit. So Chris, could you talk about the performance of our students in the IB diploma program and those exams?
What our historical in terms of our results?
Yes, just our results, yeah.
Well, historically, the school last year was a great year. We had a 100% pass rate. So all the students who took the full diploma, so again, we have the full diploma in the courses, but all the students who took the full diploma, it was 100% pass rate. The school has, when you look at the IB, they have a scoring. It's a point system. So in like APs, I think most people are used to the A, B, C, D, E, F sort of way of grading, whereas the IB actually does numbers. 7 is the highest grade, and then it goes down to 1. And the IB does a point system for the full diploma, and you take 6 subjects. So you've got a potential there of 7 points in each. So that gives you 6 times 7, 42 points. And then, as I mentioned earlier, just to keep you busy, they add in these core elements, which is an extended essay, and also it's like a philosophy course, and you do an essay and some presentations and another essay, and you can then, from those, the results in those, you can get a potential extra 3 points. So in the IB, you've got a potential of getting a maximum of 45 points, and I think it's around 1% globally of the 170,000 students who take the IB, they get the 45 points. Last year, our highest score was 42, so we were pretty close there.
It's a great score. Yes,
and then,
definitely.
As a schools, and so it's 45 is the top, and then the minimum or the basic to pass is 24. So you've got to get 24 points to pass your diploma. The worldwide average is around 29 points. And AISK will average for the full diploma over the last, well, I've been here 2 years, but over the last 5 years is 32. So we're above the world average. And the IB diploma, the average IB diploma in the Caribbean region, in this area, so North America, Caribbean and South America, is around 30 to 31. So we're also slightly above there in terms of our average.
Awesome.
Our average grade, so when you look at diploma and courses, and we just say the average score is around a 5.
Okay.
A 5 out of 7.
Yeah. All right. Awesome. Great. And no doubt, due to, again, I want to emphasize, because I think the big difference with the AISK IB diploma program is the level and quality of the faculty and their broad exposure and experience with the IB. So I'm always happy when the results match up, because at the end of the day, it is about the results. Frank is here. Frank, hi Frank. I'm so happy that Frank is here. We did mention that we would have a student join us who took the US High School Diploma route with IB course and did phenomenally well in the college admissions process, and is in his, would have just completed your first year at Tulane. Yeah. So Frank, I'm wondering if you can just tell everyone a bit about the pathway of doing this US High School Diploma. Why did you decide that that would be the best fit for you? What was it like then navigating the college admissions process? And anything else you want to share?
Sounds good. So what I think is extremely important for students entering 11th grade is to kind of recognize what you want and where you want your future to lead. And from the first instant, I kind of knew I wanted to go towards the direction to going to university in America. And so I believe that IB is a very good tool in allowing yourself to have many options, whether you want to go to England or Canada or even America itself. So for the first year, I started off in the full diploma, because why not? And then as it progressed along, I kind of realized that doing all the additional work in school is so rigorous, when in reality, what I kind of wanted to focus on was achieving a high SAT score and a very good college essay, as I realized that those two were some of the main components of that college admission people at like all the universities pay attention to. So in doing so, almost immediately after dropping from the diploma, I achieved what was my super score, I think of 1450 in the SATs. And through AIM's help as well, I also had a really good college essay, and I got into my top choice of university. When looking back on it, I think I did everything exactly the right way. It started off doing the like what was the hardest challenge available in high school, and after realizing that it wasn't necessary, I kind of made the decision to keep my HLs, as it would also benefit me in college, where I received credits for economics, while also dropping the standard levels that wouldn't really have had any sway or impact on my admissions to the school.
Very nice. Awesome. Thank you, Frank, for sharing that. Nicola, did you have something you looked like you wanted to mention? No. Oh, sorry. Okay. So Frank, thank you so much for sharing that. Would you mind telling us what you're doing in and where?
Okay, so currently I've just completed my first year at Tulane University in New Orleans. The reason why I wanted to go to that school, I've always been interested in business, and they're one of the few schools that immediately offer undergrad business acceptance. For example, other schools are in the same tier, slightly above, but like UVA, you have to apply to the business school on your third year, whereas Tulane, as a freshman, you can automatically transfer in and start doing business courses already. So for example, I'm doing like management communication, financial accounting, business analytics, I'm managerial accounting already. And so I'm allowed to become very focused in business, but IB itself, what was my biggest shock in college was how much easier it was going to be. In reality, you have like 2 to 3 hours of class a day, and the rest you have to just study and learn and do your homework. And so I finished the year with, I think, a 3.7 overall GPA. And
very nice.
And I'm on track for a semester to graduate a semester early as well, while getting a double major. So we'll see.
Wow, that's awesome. You mentioned that your IBs gave you credit, you said?
Yeah, I think I kept my 2 HLs, the ones that, because I looked at the Tulane website and I saw which HLs were offered, which they would accept for credits, and for mine, it was only economics, unfortunately, but I was enjoying my literature course, so I kept it anyways. And so I got credits for both Econ 1010 and 1020, which is intro to micro and macro, respectively. So that saved me 6 credits, which also is like around 1,000 US or more in college fees.
So it saved you college fees and time.
Yes, correct.
That's awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing, Frank. We appreciate you being here. I appreciate your time. And I just want to emphasize that there are a couple of things that Frank mentioned, which I think is so important. And, you know, one of the things that we really encourage AISK students to do is to advocate for themselves. And so you see where Frank was able to say, well, okay, this is the school I want to go to. These are the courses that they give credit for at the higher level. This is what I really want to study. This is what I want to do. And this is the path I'm going to choose to take to get there. And that's what he did. And he was and has been very successful in that path. So thank you, Frank, so much for sharing. We appreciate you and we appreciate your time, and congrats to you on doing so well. We're very proud of you.
Thank you, thank you. So if there's any questions, I would be happy to answer. If not,
of course, I'm encouraging, we have one question, and I just want to take it right before we go on to talk about AISK's face-to-face learning, which has, you know, I have 2 children at AISK, and the face-to-face in the midst of everything that has been happening has definitely been a godsend, okay? And my children are little, and it's been amazing. And so Nicola is going to speak a little bit about what is in place, what will continue in place, because one thing that you can rest assured is that AISK is going to be able to be delivering face-to-face, and so that loss of learning that I know a lot of parents are very concerned about, and I've really heard from a lot of parents and students from different high schools all over Jamaica on this. You're not going to need to worry about that at AISK. So Nicola will touch on that a little bit, but I also want to invite more questions in and take this one. Someone is asking, how much does your transcript count in your application? As a grade 11 student, the mock exams at school made our GPA drop. So will you guys be mainly focusing on our CSEC grades? So this is an admissions type question. Chris, would you like to take this?
Yep, sure can. Obviously, we're always going to look at your transcript when you come from another school, and we want to look at your, in a way, we'll look at your recommendations, and we'll also look at your grade profile. And the key thing there is, as you said, that you can, or if you've heard, there's different pathways. So when we look at those, your profile, it's about saying, well, actually, this is, about recommending the best pathway. If you're a student who, and also looking at the patterns. So if you've had some sort of high grades, then suddenly you've dropped, we can again look at that potential. If you've been, universities as well, when they'll start to look, if they see low grades moving to high. So it's just showing about the journey, and all students are on different journeys at the time going through education. So we do look at your grades, but all that, we use that then to try and guide you on putting you on the right pathway. And as you heard from Frank, somebody can start here and then move over here, so we have a flexibility as a school where, okay, we may start you on this pathway, but we realize that it's not working out. Okay, then let's try and find a better fit. So it will always be about trying to find a better fit, and it's always going to depend on where you want to go. But it's not, let's say, so we are going to look at your transcripts. We want to make sure that you're, a student who's going to be successful in our program, whichever pathway we choose. So we want to make sure that that's the case. But generally, it's about looking at those grades and then advising you on which is the best pathway.
Thank you for that, Chris. On that note, I want to just emphasize the fact that AISK is very unique in the fact that everybody who comes in is not automatically awarded, but at successful completion of AISK, you do get a US High School Diploma. And that US High School Diploma is a great, what we like to call fail-safe. And what that means is that at the completion of high school, you will be graduating with a qualification that is accepted globally by universities. And that is a very, very important concept and investment for both parents and students to really understand. So at the end of the day, your trajectory at AISK is not dependent on CSEC grades. It's not dependent on any, major high stakes external exam, because the US High School Diploma is a part of what we do at AISK. And so, Chris, would you be able to just touch on the courses that have to be covered as part of a US High School Diploma? There is a question here from Eric on, do you have to take a foreign language? I know that's a requirement in the IB, not so sure about the US High School Diploma path. So if you could just tell us what the courses are that are required, and I will just remind parents and students that once you have a US High School Diploma and that SAT score, you can apply to any university anywhere in the world.
Yeah, so the US High School Diploma works on a credit system, and each different schools, US high schools, will require different credits. For us as a school, we require what's called 24 credits. How do you get a credit? Well, you take a course and you pass it. So for example, if you take grade 9 English and you pass it, you take it for the whole year and you pass it, it gives you 1 credit. Now for us as a school, we require 4 credits for English. So it does mean that throughout your high school career, you've got to pass English in grade 9, grade 10, grade 11, and grade 12. Perhaps you might fail it in grade 10. Well, at some point, you've got to do another credit. You may have to do another English course but you do have to get those 4 credits for English. You then have to do 3 credits in maths, 3 credits in sciences. There was a question about languages. You have to do 2 credits of a foreign language. Many students will do their foreign language in 9th and 10th grade. So by the time they actually go into the IB at 11th and 12th, they've actually already met the credit requirements for their high school diploma. And so the 2 extra years they do doing a language as part of an IB diploma, or if they choose to do an IB course in a language, it's just additional credit. In fact, most students at AISK who are with us from 9th grade to 12th grade will actually finish with around 29, 30 credits. I think, yeah, so it's way above the 24 credits.
Way above the minimum needed, definitely.
So you've got the main one is the English, then you've got the maths and the sciences, you have foreign language. We also have social studies, which is 3 credits, so a history and economics course. And then there are also requirements for visual arts or creative arts and also physical education. But English is the only one which you would need to take every single year and get a credit for.
Thank you so much for that, Chris. And that's actually really key information. I really want to emphasize that one of the reasons why some students, many students, are not successful in the college admission and scholarship process for overseas universities is because they're lacking credits in certain subject areas because they didn't know early enough when they were perhaps selecting at CSEC, and then CSEC sets the tone for what you can do at CAPE if you're on that curriculum. So here at AISK, you really get a chance to hit the reset button, so to speak, and cover all of those key core 5 subject areas that you really do need in order to present a competitive and compelling transcript for university application. That's just something I really want to make sure that I underscore.
I would also add just there is that for AISK as well, not all US high schools do this, but we do it, is that to get our high school diploma, there's a service component. So we do expect around 75 hours of service, which you need to give over the course of a couple of years, and that's part of our high school diploma as well.
Thank you for noting that. And on that note, we have a couple questions about scholarships, and that's also what we were about to cover next. But Chris, you mentioned that services are part of the high school diploma requirement. I also want to mention that AISK is an environment that really does foster extracurricular involvement, and it supports, the whole structure supports students who want to try new things, who want to start clubs. Even in the midst of the pandemic, AISK as an institution did a wonderful job with supporting 2 of our now 2021 students with staging the first ever Jamaica Model UN conference, which was done online. And those are also things and areas that are very necessary to stand out in the university application process. Nia, I think you did a podcast. Like we really encourage our students to go ahead and try different extracurricular activities and build not just competence and achievement, but pursue their interests and serve the community and be their best selves, which fortunately is also what colleges look for. And I think that has a lot to do with why AISK students have been so successful in the college admissions and scholarship processes, where you see the return on the investment really coming through.
Actually, yeah, Nia and a friend of her, they set up a whole club, which was not Nia, do you want to explain that? That was awesome. It was all to do with promoting creativity in the arts.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, so we were able to set up virtual meetings where like students would be able to join, and it was especially helpful during everyone during quarantine and stuff like that, but it continued when we went back to face-to-face learning. But even then, clubs still, you couldn't be in person. So virtually people were able to come together and still share art and have discussions and talk about it. And I think having a place to kind of like connect with others and share was really important. And a very special thing that AISK was able to kind of support. Additionally, the teachers were also supportive. We're also working on like a mini magazine where we got to interview a bunch of our teachers and ask them about how creativity works in their classrooms, which also goes back to the teachers. Out of all of the math and science teachers at AISK, I think almost all of them also do some sort of creative form of like writing or painting and something like that.
Music,
I thought that was so amazing because you can see like the duality of the teachers and how they all have that like intrinsic motivation to do sorts of things means that they're able to support it in their students. And, you know, they're able to have this like wide, broad perspective, and they're able to support students in whatever they want to do because they have such an open mindset.
Wow, Nia. Awesome. Thank you very much for sharing that. All right. We have 2 questions. I heard you can get a scholarship to AISK to do IB. Is that true? And then the second question is, could you share more about the scholarships that are available for the IB program? We offer half scholarships and full scholarships at AISK. I'm going to rely on Nicola to speak to the deadlines that are involved. There is an application process. You have to do a PSAT exam, a diagnostic exam as part of it, submit transcripts, recommendations, personal statement. So it's a mini college app, but way less stressful, and only one essay, fortunately. And it's reviewed by a committee. An interview is also a part of the application process for the scholarship. But I am not sure of the deadlines, Nicola.
I just asked that question of somebody, so I'm going to get the answer back shortly because I'm not sure myself.
Okay, did I cover? I think I covered everything that's required. You have to do an essay, you need teacher recommendations, we need to see a transcript, you have to do a PSAT, and if you're shortlisted, you also have to come in for an interview, and your parents come in for an interview. Chris, does that sound right? Chris is nodding, so I think I am correct.
Correct, you're correct. You're correct.
Thank you very much on that. Okay.
You can write admissions at AISK.com or go online.
Admissions at AISK.com. We're going to drop the, if we could drop the link to the scholarship info page inside the chat, that would be super awesome. Or if we could drop our email address, actually, I can just put it in here. If you contact Wallace at AISK.com, you can get more information on our scholarships, and we can also, there's information on it also available on our website. When would you have to apply for the scholarship? We are getting that deadline, and we're going to tell you in just a second. Nicola, would you be able to speak to the whole face-to-face learning and how AISK has been able to really be actually the first school that was able to reopen as a fully certified compliant COVID, I don't know the terminology.
We were the first school to apply to open during the pandemic in August. The schools were closed up to September, but AISK actually opens in August. So it forced us to have to apply to open school, and we did. Fortunately for AISK, the school year is 36 weeks, and we have been open for 30 of those 36 weeks.
Which is amazing.
Which is amazing. We
were
were
able to do that.
Well, I think, first of all, because we opened up earlier, we opened earlier. We opened in the second week of August, and then we close. School closes in 2 more weeks. So I think where we are in terms of where the pandemic has, been moving through Jamaica, we were at the beginning of it. And Jamaica in the beginning of the pandemic, which started in March, the virus didn't really kind of take us over until way down in December, January. So we opened on time, and we got compliant. We started what is called a crisis management team. As a matter of fact, we have a crisis management team meeting once a week when we're back face to face, but we have a meeting 3 times a week when we are not face to face. And what this team does is it looks at school in terms of what is happening with the pandemic and how do we keep us safe. And our parents, our community was very, very, very supportive, very, very, they were very responsible. whenever anybody got sick. They told us who was sick. We knew what we had to do. So much so, I think we had less than 10 instances of people being ill, but we had no spread.
No community spread.
No community spread.
In 30 weeks of being open.
I think Nia can speak to her experience of being at school during this time, and the face-to-face is, face it, school is about community, it's about friends, it's about being with your teachers, it's about being mentored, that's what school is about.
Yes.
So it is very difficult for students to be on their own at home doing school. But I think Nia, tell of your experience while you were at school face-to-face, because I think you're the best person to say that.
And Nia, can you mention some of the specific measures that are in place?
Yeah. So at school, all the desks are like 6 feet apart. We have hand sanitizer stations in each room. Everybody wears their mask. And even like there's limitations to how many people can sit outside at one time. And it's like you're limited to like specific classrooms. So you're not moving around as much or cross-contaminating with different grades. So overall, you feel very safe at school. Additionally, like being in person was very helpful this year because especially for me personally as a learner, it's hard for me to kind of like ask questions and stuff in a virtual space and to just be motivated from, by myself. So at, in person, having like during my free periods, being able to sit in my teachers' rooms and ask them questions and work with them. Those are things that are very important to learning. Or just people are so much more communicative when it's in person, when you're in a classroom together, that even like the sitting 6 feet apart doesn't even make much of a difference. So I think it definitely changed my success this year as a student. So I really appreciate that we were able to be open for that much time.
Yes, thank you for that. Thank you for sharing, Neil. So we have a couple more questions, Nicola, around when applications for sixth form open for AISK. When does that window close, as well as the scholarship?
Right now.
Okay. In the interim, I want to answer this question from Julie. Julie is asking, when do students choose their IB diploma path? They choose, so if they're at AISK, they choose their path in the latter part of grade 10, and we do advising around that. Chris, can you speak to how that grade 10 advising process works if they're already at AISK, and then for our incoming brand new lower sixers, which we call grade 11, but the Caribbean system, Jamaican system calls our grade 11 student a fifth former. Our grade 11 is a lower sixer. So tell me how the advising in terms of which of the three pathways work for a student who is already at AISK versus a student who is in as a brand new sixth former.
Well, both really work very similar. It just obviously depends on the time when the students, applying, as it were. But we start in January, where we meet with the parents and the students, and we explain all the courses and the pathways with a presentation. We then have actually teacher videos. In the past, we've done an IB options evening where we've been able to do it in person. This year, we did it in virtually. And so we have teacher videos which basically explain a little about the different courses that we have and what it entails. So people get more information about that. Students then make their choices. And then following their make choices, they then have one-to-one meetings with students and parents with me or the IB coordinator. And we then, and also obviously talk with yourself, Ms. Campbell. And we then basically make decisions now about the pathways which they will go on. They will then come back in August. We will begin those pathways. And as I said before, there is a window in the first 3 or 4 weeks where we can start to make adjustments if a student is on the full diploma or if they're on courses. And there is also, I say there's always a chance. You heard from Frank where he started off on the full diploma and then moved to courses. That's possible. It's not always possible. You can't really go from courses to full diploma. You would have to start on the full diploma and then move to courses. But as I said, there is that flexibility. And once you're on some of the courses, again, we'll have a student who may start with economics, and they'll start, and after 2 or 3 weeks, they'll go, you know what, that wasn't, maybe could I do business, or could I do history? And we can make those changes and switches as well. So nothing's written in stone, but we do make that initial decision and try to lock in based on type of learner you are, where you want to go, what you want to do, and your current academic profile. And we set you on the pathways, as said. At the end of our grade 10, or I guess it's grade 11 or year 11 in school. If you're coming to the school and you're applying now or over the summer, then again, you'll talk one-on-one with the IB coordinator or myself. We send you the videos which give you explanations of the courses, and then you would make the courses, and again you would have a follow-up conversation with myself or the IB coordinator just to finalize and make sure you understand. Obviously input from the college counselling by Ms. Campbell, and then you would start. And again, once you start in August, there is always further discussions, and we're constantly looking to say, are you on the right pathway? Are you being successful?
Absolutely. And I want to emphasize that, where a student wants to study for college, as well as what their parental budget is for university, does make a difference to what pathway they choose. For example, academic scholarships and, certainly full scholarships and financial aid, let's say for international students, that is more highly correlated with choosing the full IB diploma path, because it is the most challenging option available at AISK, and as such, many schools that do award those larger scholarships, especially for international students, they will want to see that a student has done the most challenging program available to them. But again, it's all about what your plans are and options are post AISK as well. So that does make a big difference in terms of what pathway we advise students to choose. So thank you for that, Chris. What a lot of awesome questions. I want to just get to talking about the investment for AISK. I call it an investment versus a cost, because I've seen personally and have helped, fortunately been able to help parents realize a great return on the investment that they make in our AISK education. I think it's really important as well to note that one of the reasons that AISK was able to respond so quickly as a community to the COVID pandemic, in terms of what, measures needed to be put in place, and the spacing, and the turnstiles, and all the different sanitation, and even the huge logistical operation that it was, is because of the resources that the AISK as a school was able to identify and allocate toward becoming fully compliant in record time. And so that is important for parents. I know certainly as a parent, I appreciated that more than anything, and really got to see what it means to have your investment really work for you, and really appreciate its usage for sure was emphasized in that. But Nicola, can you talk to us a bit about the fees for AISK, what kind of payment plans are available? I love a payment plan. Yeah, just speak to the cost, the investment, and when you get the scholarship deadlines and deadlines, please also include.
Yeah, we do recognize that that our fees are, we are the highest school fee in the land, and we have many families on payment plans. We have a scheme called Pay 10, and it's 10 payments, and all that information is actually on our website. I think the payment for your year that we're talking about, let me just look at it very quickly. Here it is. All our information is on AISK.com. For grade 9 to 11, it's $2,100 a month, $2,100 a month for 10 months. And as I said, we do recognize that many of our families are on payment plans. The fees are in US dollars. and you can pay in Jamaican at the equivalent rate of exchange of the day. One of the questions you asked me about the scholarship deadlines. I have them right here. Our next deadline is July 2nd at 4 p.m. By then, you should have had in all of your documents, which would be your teacher recommendations, your transcripts. You would have had to have done your PSAT test with AIM. If you already have a PSAT test, which you may have PSAT results already, you can use those. Or you have to go and take the PSAT and then you have to do an essay. And when you put in those documents, you are actually, your application is looked at, and then you're moved to the next round. And the next round would be being invited in for scholarship interview. The student has a scholarship interview, as well as parents have a scholarship interview.
Absolutely.
And you'll be able to go on the website and get all this information.
And I just want to give a huge shout out to the brand new website. The team worked very, very hard on it, and it's beautiful. I just went on it, actually, I confess, for the first time since it launched last week. And the tour, it's such a gorgeous tour of our campus. And so I just put the link to our website in the chat. So I really want to encourage you to go ahead and have a look at the website. There's a question on whether the recording will be sent. I am not sure. This recording will be sent? Yes.
It can be.
Okay, so absolutely, this recording will be sent. Thank you for asking. And then which grade do you have to be in to apply for the scholarship? So the scholarships are available to incoming lower sixers.
Actually, you can actually apply as soon as in your 5th form year.
Oh, to come in lower six, or to
You can come in our 10th grade, which is 11th grade, local 11th grade.
So you could apply and start in 5th form.
You can come to AISK 10 years, yeah.
Okay, so 3-year scholarship.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome, excellent. That is great. Okay, thank you very much for that information. Any other questions? I'm so happy with all the questions. I love when we get a lot of questions. Any other questions? If there are no other questions, I'm just going to ask our esteemed panelists, and then I will add my little point. Why do you think that one should choose AISK? Nia, you're up first.
I think that one should choose AISK for if anybody should choose AISK, because anybody can go to AISK and be successful and find a path that is true to them, and find a community of people who will find a way to build them to success in whatever way works for like them uniquely. Yeah, because AISK like prides the individual and allows for a lot of self-actualization and growth. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Nia. Jonathan.
One reason why anyone should go to AISK or invest in their AISK journey, I would say it's worth it in the long run, being that I'm the statistic, the embodiment of all the statistics that have been thrown so far. So I was a recipient of the full scholarship. I did do the IB diploma program. I did have the experience with college advising and the hours of essay writing and drafts, and the yelling and the harassment to meet deadlines, and all of the intensive community love, whether it was tough love or whatever it might be, whatever form it was truly a great decision on my part, my parents' part, to move from my local high school to come to AISK, and I don't regret it one bit. But I would say trust and believe in it. Trust and believe in the systems that are in play. They've gotten even better since I was there, or from what I've been hearing. And believe me, it works out. it is worth the investment 100%.
Harassment pays off is all I can say. Thank you, John.
It does.
But you know, calling my gentle talking and big coaxing harassment.
Oh, I thought you was talking about me.
You know, I didn't say who harassed me, you know, then I threw a stone and certain people are getting hit.
I'm wearing the cap. If the cap, I'm wearing it.
I have no issues. I'm proud of you. I'm proud of what has happened.
I'm so proud of it. You have no idea.
Chris, why should one choose AISK in your view?
I think, as you said, I've worked with in many sort of schools, and I've worked with different education systems, and I love the IB. Both my children did the IB. I think it really prepares students not just for university. Again, the statistics will show you the dropout rates in the US for students who have done IB are far less, and the statistics will show you they're far more likely to be successful at university. But it just prepares you. Now, I think Nia's touched on it, and Jonathan, just that way of approaching and thinking and collaborating and working. They're ready. You know, they're ready. You know, and I know that the graduates we waved off on Sunday, and it was great to see them go. But they're ready. They're going to go to university or wherever. They'll be successful, and they'll come out of university, and then they'll be successful in their whatever that is. And it's just part of that. I say the IB approach, which the school does, and you know, we are that small community feel, and we know all the students. And I think I was one of those people who was harassing them this year, but it was all done out of love and care. And it's about, you know, trying to support them and get them to where they want to be, you know, not for us, it's where they want to be, and help them realize their potential.
Thank you, Chris. And I've mentioned more than once, but for me, it's definitely the faculty and the community, and the fact that each student is encouraged in their strengths and their interests, and they're given that freedom to be and not to fit into a certain mold. You know, there's some places where you feel as if you don't want to be an engineer or a doctor, you're like an outcast, or, you know, it's looked down on or whatever. And we've just had such incredible students, you know, become and we just love that. And I love that, because I think that in the world now, that is more important than ever, the confidence to be who you are. And I think AISK really does a great job with that. So that's it for me, as a parent for sure, and as a college counselor for sure. That's the major thing for me. But we have some more questions rolling in, and then Nicola, do you have a Nicola?
I got the scholarship brochure in the chat. Everybody can download it from there.
Awesome. Where is it?
In the chat.
I didn't see it. Maybe, okay. Maybe, has everybody seen the scholarship brochure? I didn't see it, but it's because maybe I'm scrolling. I haven't seen it. Can you, Nicola, again, when our sixth form apps opening for AISK, question comes again, they're not sure if it was mentioned, but they missed it.
They're opening right now. They're open right now.
Our apps are open right now. I repeat, you can apply tonight or
AISK.com on the website. It's a online application. It's not a paper application.
Okay, so everything is handled online. So as soon as you go onto the website, there is the button apply now, and you just go ahead, create an account, and you can just go through the application right there. The brochure will be emailed to you. The scholarship brochure will be emailed to you along with the replay. Okay, so that is the word on the brochure. I've dropped the exact link to the application. You can create an account and apply now. The parent interview. So what it is the parents of the scholarship applicant, because this is a partnership. This process of education and college apps, and it is a partnership, and so we really value the opportunity to meet and get to know parents and ensure that AISK is the right fit for their child, and based on what their expectations are and what their goals are. So it's just a conversation. That's what we mean by the parent interview. How many classes do you have to take? This sounds like a Chris question. How many classes do you have to take for IB? And if you're coming from another school, and you don't already do some of the subjects, for example, social studies, econ, etc., how would that work?
Yeah, so to do the full diploma, you have to take 6 classes. And as I mentioned earlier, there's certain requirements. You have to take what's called a language A, your mother tongue. You have to do a language acquisition, a science, a social studies, a maths, and then one other. As long as you've done maths and English, which most, I've not yet to see an applicant or admission where they've not been doing maths and English. As long as you've got those and you've been doing those, that's fine. If you haven't done an economics or you've not had a social studies course in your 9th or 10th grade, it's fine. The courses are 2 years long and you'll still be able to get on and be successful. The IB courses are not so much content dependent. It's really about it's the application of knowledge. So maths and English, certainly the maths, where things you've been doing in 6th and 7th grade all build. But in terms of sciences, we just need to think about which science courses. So if you've not done physics, then maybe taking on IB physics is not going to be a good choice. But there are options available. So it's not. I wouldn't worry about it in terms of that question. The student, you're all coming from schools where you'll have been doing 7 or 8 different courses, and they will all link in some way towards taking the IB.
You will find a fit. And
Yes.
even foreign language, there's an ab initio level where you start from scratch, even if you haven't done it foreign language.
Like really fresh.
No, it is from scratch. It is the requirement is that you've not seen the language before, and then it's ab initio.
Absolutely. Thank you for that, Chris. A question on whether half and full scholarships are still available. I typed the answer that I believe we've awarded all of our full scholarships for next year, but we still have half scholarships available. Is that accurate, Nicola?
Correct.
Okay. Wow, I'm so proud of myself. Okay, so that is accurate. Thank you. Many people say IB is very hard, Jonathan and Nia. How hard would you say it is in comparison to normal school? And mention how I think it's important for students to know they're not in it alone. There's so much support available at AISK. So if you could touch on just the difficulty level compared to, let's say, non-IB, you had friends who weren't doing IB, etc. Go ahead.
Yeah, IB is really hard. And it's like there's always something else to do. So I think that's like the most overwhelming thing. Like Mr. Walker mentioned, it's not so much content heavy, but you really have to think deeply about all of these things and you have to write a lot of information. And with my other classes, it might be a lot of homework and a lot of tests, but there's not these like overarching things that you have to manage your time around. And with college admissions and everything, it really does just like fall a lot in the like last 2 years, especially the last year, it all comes down hard and a lot. But yeah, with AISK's support and its faculty, it does become really, really manageable. I remember there were times where I really, with my EE, which is like something that I was like putting off for the longest time, and Mr. Walker knows this, but I wanted to just like give up. I was like, I don't care if it's good anymore. I just want to submit it how it is. But it was my teacher who was, my EE supervisor who was like constantly telling me like, no, you can revise it one more time. You can make these changes and reminding me that, I could do better. And that like I could actually finish. And I think that's the important part, that you do have teachers who will be there to support you, who have after school extra sessions to work on. And you also do have a student body that's very supportive as well. We would do study groups, even virtually. We would all call and work and study for tests together. And so you have that student support and the staff support and from the administration and everything that makes it possible to succeed in a very hard program. Yeah.
Thank you for that, Nia. Jonathan, what does your memory? How does your memory serve you?
My memory does tell me that it was hard, but kind of to step away from the subjective and give a more objective overview of it, especially since I have my younger sister now who is at the CAPE level at Andrews doing all of her stuff. And I get to see her coursework and I get to see what she's doing in terms of STEM and what I was doing for physics and chemistry when I was at AISK. It is hard. Kind of like Nia said, there is less, it's not mass amounts of quantity and difficult knowledge being thrown at you, but the journey and the immersion in the IB program, where you have so many things that are required of you, can feel like a lot for students. And I will say, I don't know if there are any students listening or if it's solely parents, but for students, believe me, it's not crushing to the point where you will fail or the IB diploma will cripple you as a student and make you hate learning or whatever the case might be. But it is difficult. And if I were to chalk it up to something, seeing as I've done IB and I've done first year college courses, I would say IB is more similar to how college is set up, in the sense where it's no longer a rote memorization kind of thing where I learned this equation, I learned this week, and I learned that the next week, and then I get tested, and then it's to the side onto the next. It's concepts being built upon concepts of being built upon concepts, which is the hard part for students, because it's learning in its truest sense, if you will, where you learn and you put it in your back pocket and you have to go back and you have to practice, and it's annoying and it makes it feel cumbersome, and that's what really builds the pressure. But that's what the rest of learning in college is like. You have your assignments, you have your one-on-ones with your professor, but at the end of the day, it falls on you to really put in the hours or put in the time and dedication necessary to make the IB program work for you just as much as you have to work for it. So, and if you're wondering about coursework necessarily, I wouldn't say it strays too far from the regular normal school. And by normal school, I'm assuming you're referring to a typical Jamaican school. So the coursework isn't anything vast. It's not a PhD class. But I would say I'd say they borrow from a little bit of college curriculum and maybe throw it in at the end with a little bit of extra seasoning. That's pretty much it. So coming to the end of your 12th grade year, if I'm remembering correctly, that's when you kind of veer off from the average Jamaican curriculum, and then now you're getting introduced to topics. I think there were electives, if I'm not mistaken, for the STEM classes at least. So that would be biochem and physics. But the students wouldn't choose the electives themselves. It would be a class elective. So I think for mine, for chemistry, was probably biochemistry that year. And then that little segment for the end of the year is something a little more leaning towards the college side, which gives you a glimpse into what, you're doing in that direction.
Can I ask you a question, Jonathan?
Yes, of course.
How did the IB actually help you in terms of your skill set for going into university? Those skills required to actually master doing your coursework at university.
Right. So in terms of my mastery of coursework, the IB program definitely helped, and I'm not even exaggerating at all. I primarily, because I'm a STEM major, I went in with accepted for chemistry. So I use my IB math, chemistry, and physics. My physics courses, Nicola, you might get mad at me again, but I was coasting. Is exactly what I was doing in Mr. Beckstead's classroom, and then they just built upon that, right? So I was so much prepared that I wasn't necessarily phased when I was in my STEM classes or my math classes, or when it comes to applying, or when it's finals time and everyone is cramming and everyone's crashing because they've never experienced this much pressure before. To me, it wasn't a walk in the park, but I knew what it felt like to be under pressure for deadlines, under pressure for studying and making sure that I'm on the right side of the grade scale and not on the lower side, you know what I mean? So my experience with IB helped me a lot, so much so that even in college, I was able to pick up extra money tutoring kids that didn't really understand the subject matter that I understood because of my time in IB, So I think, again, it's 100% worth it. It is hard, but it's an investment that pays off in the long run. And if I had asked me that was in IB if it was worth it, I would have said no, But now that I'm standing on the other side of it, and I can look back in hindsight, I understand why it was so rigorous. I understand why it felt so hard. I understand why it is set up the way it is set up, and I'm grateful for it, to be honest.
And I think it's better to have like a harder time during IB and not understand why it's so hard and like doubt yourself when you have like a faculty that will support you versus in college where it's way more individual and way more on yourself, and the consequences are a lot more drastic if you don't live up to the expectations. So having IB first, I feel a lot more comfortable going into college because I feel like, yeah, I've done something at least somewhat similar.
Not to mention home cooked meals for your parents. Because I mean, there is the dealing with the emotional transition to college, being on your own for the first time and all, making new friends and all the things that come with that. And so having to be academically pressured as well is no doubt very difficult. So I love that the IB program does give very, very solid university preparation, not just content-wise, because it does, but also management-wise. There's a lot of volume coming at you, lots of deadlines. And when you've done the IB program and you get to university, and I've had this feedback from, all of the IB diploma students feel as though, yes, I don't want to use the word suffered, but having struggled to transition in IB and get everything done, they feel much more confident and are equipped in a different way for university. So thank you guys for sharing that.
Also, if I could add really quickly, Nicole,
Go ahead.
apart from the academics aspect of it, it also prepares you. Like I said, AISK helped me to become a better professional in that sense, because now when you're in college, there's no mom and dad, or typically there's no mom and dad to come on your behalf. There's no intercessor between you, financial aid, or whatever other jurisdiction on campus is trying to reach you or get in contact with you. So that experience of being able to juggle everything yourself, whether it be college counseling and your essay or your finals and your assignments, that feeling and that experience definitely prepares you for the upcoming college experience, and furthermore the world, because you understand that certain things have urgency, certain things need to be dealt with in a specific manner with specific deadlines, and you need to have certain etiquette when approaching certain things. So those are all the little things that aren't necessarily in the contract of IB and the journey that come as a plus, if you will, when you come out on the other side.
Thank you for that, Jonathan. All right, we have the two final questions. I think actually Nia and Jonathan did an excellent job of answering one of them. One question is the pros and cons of doing IB, doing CAPE versus IB. As a college counselor, not just for AISK, but also seeing students from various CAPE high schools, public schools across Jamaica, I can certainly say from a college admissions perspective, certainly as you all would likely know, students can be successful applying to university from any system that is offered at their school, as long as they excel in the context they're coming out of. So we're not gonna, sit here and say, well, if you do IB, that's the only way to get into a great college. Certainly it is definitely not so. However, what I do see is exactly what Jonathan and Nia have spoken to. The fact that the IB diploma program prepares you for the rigors of university. Life prepares you in a very special way. And as I said, the IB, there are certain scholarships that you get for just doing IB. The credits are easier to translate. CAPE does carry credit in many schools as well. It's just that IB is more international, so it's more easily recognized and accepted as credit for many more schools than would necessarily accept CAPE. I've had students go to university and have to really struggle to get CAPE recognized, although it is recognized. And when I say recognized, I don't mean recognized as a qualification. It's recognized as a qualification everywhere. I'm just talking about when you get that great grade in your CAPE exam, will that exam count in terms of giving you college credit, taking time off your degree, or allowing you to pass through certain prerequisites. Not necessarily the case, depending on the school, but certainly for IB, those credits would be easy to translate. So I think the pros of doing the full IB diploma program from a college success perspective is the real preparation that it gives you to be successful in college, to hit your stride, to establish that high GPA in college almost immediately, because you are able to manage the work. Whereas there are lots of students who will get into awesome colleges, but you know, the first year is a struggle because it's such a transition for them coming out of CAPE, whereas coming out of IB, the transition is smoother. So for me, that's a major pro. And then I also like the way, especially AISK's IB program, because of the type of teachers and the small classes, they really emphasize independent thought. I remember that it was only when, you know, and I went to Andrews, pick up Andrews, but it was only after coming off of the CSEC curriculum that I was actually asked to think of original thoughts for myself. I could tell you what the author said, but when they asked me what I thought, I was like, who cares what I thought? I can tell you what the book says. And I think that's a big difference between our local curriculum and how IB asks you to think. I think that IB as a curriculum is more suited to the global reality and the types of skills that students need to go into the world of work and be successful, whether it is going into an organization or starting their own. The type of independent thinkers and kind of global citizens, it's just a different preparation for the world that I think if you are able to do that, you should. And that's my college counselor hat answering that question there. Would you have to do AdMath in CSEC to get the scholarship and do IB? I don't think that's a scholarship requirement.
No.
No. And then last but certainly not least, you mentioned in the Q&A that the half scholarships are available for now. Can myself as a student apply for any further discount with that scholarship? Is that something that is possible?
I think that's done on a case-by-case basis.
Okay, awesome. So that's on a case-by-case basis. So we do encourage you to check your email, because the scholarship brochure will be in your email, and you can go ahead and as Nicola said, it would be done on a case-by-case basis. So we do encourage you to apply if that is what you're interested in doing. All right, so on that note, I would just like to really thank everybody. Thank you to Nia, thank you to Jonathan, both for being here and really giving, you know, it's one thing for the college council to talk and the special projects person to talk and the, you know, the high school principal to talk, but it's a different experience to get the real
perspective.
The real perspective from students. Thank you, Nicola. That is the perspective that for me is really tells you what AISK is and what it does. And so thank you to Jonathan, to Frank, who is no longer here, but was here and gave a great insight into one of the pathways. Nia, I just love listening to you and hearing your passion come through, and I'm excited to see what you'll do in the world. Jonathan, as I said, we're also proud of you, so thank you for being here. Chris, thank you so much for the conversation, and I personally, I work really closely with Chris as the college counselor, and I'll tell you, we have a very effective relationship, so I really value that. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Nicola, for letting us know how AISK is COVID ready. And I think that is a big concern for parents, as it should be. So thank you for shedding light on that and you know, knowing AISK so well and having really, you know, contributed so much to its development. We just thank you for your perspective and for your insight this evening. And last but certainly not least, thank you to every single member of this webinar info session this evening. I'm pretty excited that we went on for an hour and 40 minutes because the questions were great and the questions kept coming. And, you know, in webinar speak, we call that engagement. And when we have high engagement, we are very happy. So thank you so much. But I won't close without answering this last question because it's about you and your If you attend a different school's sixth form program for the first year and apply again for AISK for the second year, is that something that can be done? So they're wondering about coming into AISK for their final year, having done a different sixth form. How does that work?
It is possible, but you would not be able to do IB courses because, or you would then have to stay and do an extra year at AISK, because the IB courses are run over 2 years. So you would be able to come in and join us in the sort of that second year, but you would only be eligible to do the high school diploma.
Unless you're coming from an IB school.
If you're coming from an IB school, then we can transfer you.
Okay, all right, great, thank you. Thank you again, everyone. I really enjoyed, and we're looking forward to seeing your applications and to welcoming you to AISK in August. Take care, everyone. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks, John.